All right, we live. All right. Everybody do y'all tagging and add to y'all timelines.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, we good to go?
Yep, we're good.
We on live. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Hey, thanks for hopping on. We got another great ManUp series conversation today. We got a special guest with us. Again, this is Rob. Got Brandon, Chris, and Clarence with us. Today we got educator and coach, Mr. George E. Rice III. So welcome, sir. It's a great pleasure to have you with us today. I have been a witness of some of the nuggets that you have shared over the years in different environments, of course, but much appreciated. This is a long time friend and brother of mine, and I know some of the native Toledoans know him as well. So, thank you for taking the time to share with us. We're going to have a great conversation today just about how, knowing yourself and utilizing your emotional intelligence, especially in today's environment, can help thrust you towards, making a difference in your community and in your life and on your journey to success. So, again, thank you for being with us. I'll let you go ahead and talk a little bit about yourself and let everybody know your background.
What's up, fellas? Good evening. Glass City, stand up. What's going on? The formal name is funny. I went to school with people that didn't know my government name until I got to college. People that grew up with me knew me as Chief. And
Yep.
Matter of fact, real story. Chuck Worthy and I grew up together. His cousin used to live right next door to me, the Dunstons, and he didn't find out till we was grown what my real name was. And I was like, bro, we've known each other all our lives. You didn't know my real name until somebody mentioned it. He said, yeah. So anyway, man, I appreciate the opportunity. Born and raised in the Glass City. Grew up on Joffrey Street, right off of Bancroft.
What I said.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then, we moved from Joffrey. Then we moved over by Toledo Hospital, and then we ended up moving to the Valley, as y'all know it as the Valley, over on Mount Vernon. But I spent most of my life. I spent about more than half of my childhood growing up on Joffrey, and then a year over near Toledo Hospital, and then the rest of that time over in Westmoreland or the Valley. Went to St. Francis High School. Go Knights. I saw a couple people, they disappointed me, man. They went to Central. I'm like, man, don't y'all know? Well, my whole time we went to school, we had the Irish Knight all 4 years. But anyway, went to Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. I have a bachelor's in psychology. And then I came back home, started teaching, and I earned my master's from Bowling Green State University. Worked at Bowling Green for 5 years. 2005, me and my family moved out here to the DC area. So we've been here ever since. We were here during the Obama era, which is a beautiful thing, especially, just having, my children, especially my son at the time, him seeing Obama, like when the motorcade went by, that's just like one of those priceless moments, man. But we've been here in the DC area now for 15 years. And nobody's asked us to go anywhere, and we're not planning on doing it no time soon. But I appreciate the opportunity, man. And I just want to say I'm excited with the work that you all have been doing, fellas. I'm a big fan of the work, and I've known a couple of you all for quite some time. Before us, I remember when you were an athlete at Star High School, man. I just remember those. It seemed like it was, now you're a father and a husband. It's a beautiful thing, man. So Now 2020 has been a great year, man. It's regardless of what's happening, talk about emotional intelligence, having to, me and my wife having to, celebrate our children as they both graduated. My daughter graduated from Hampton University and my son just graduated from high school. So it's just one of those things where, you have to try to find, your own small piece of heaven. So, we're all in good health and good spirits, but more than anything, man, I'm honored and humble to be here. So thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Good to have you, bro. Good to have you.
Definitely.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and get into this discussion. We really pride ourselves on attacking issues and things we think we can help to personally, I guess, change in our lives so we can help to make an impact in our communities. We want to always walk away from the conversation with some things that we can take action on ourselves. And that, whether that be Black, white, Asian, yellow, brown, purple, whatever, we all have a responsibility to help make a difference for the better in our communities and in our families. So talk a little bit about and I know I've seen you present before, and you struck me with a question one time that really stood out to me, and the room kind of paused for a minute when you asked, "Who are you?" And you continue to ask, "Who are you?" People would give you an answer, and you would continue to ask, "Well, is that really you? Who are you?"
Yeah.
So go into that a little bit and kind of tell us about the importance of knowing who you are and how that helps to move you towards a place of knowing how to help make a difference in your life, and then in turn help to affect other people's lives.
Rob, that's a great question. I'm tripping that you remembered that. I always ask that question because not because I want to know from other people. Yeah, I want to know, but at the same time, I'm trying to ask myself the same question. And I think when people ask me who I am, I never give titles. I'll give you the good, bad, and ugly ingredients because I feel it's necessary. I don't care who we're interfacing with, if it's our children, if it's our wives, if it's people that we work with, if it's people that we're meeting for the first time. Of course, it's a firm handshake and pleasantries. And most times we're in circles where we talk about what we do versus who we are. And the thing that kills me is that there were times where, for those of you who don't know, I used to have locks that were halfway down my back. And so me and my wife would go to functions, and I would normally look at my watch when we went to the function in Toledo, Ohio. And I would say, I would try to figure out how long it would take before somebody asked me what I did for a living. And just based on, I had the locks or whatever. And I was like, I thought it was funny because a lot of people try to define who you are by what you do. And, I guess in our infinite wisdom, it's a good part of this is how we make ends meet. Hopefully what we do brings us joy and fulfillment, not just because it pays the bills or that we can have chicken on Sunday. But I think it's important to constantly ask our question of who we are in each season, because if we're not different in each season, then why are we living? Like who I've had to be in this COVID season, who we all had to be in this COVID season is completely different than who we had to be during the wintertime. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you work remotely or not. There has to be a certain amount of resilience. There has to be a certain amount of optimism. There has to be a certain amount of deflection in terms of how do we deal with the limitations that have been placed on us. And so while a lot of people look at this as a season of disappointment, I'm like, nah, let's look at it for what it really is. I think this was the full timeout that everybody needed, right? And you could look at it two different ways. It could either be punishment or it could be recess. Because let's just be honest, 90% of the people that are working hate their job.
Wow.
Either they hate their job or they hate let me not say hate. They dislike their job for whatever reason. Maybe it's the actual work. Maybe it's the amount of time that they've been there. Maybe it is the people they work with. But most times, y'all know people from our fair city, you know, their favorite phrase is, look, I'm just trying to stay out the way. Well, there's an opportunity for you to get the hell out the way with COVID. You can stay home. But what I'm saying is, you know, I think it's a great time for us to just really reflect on who we are. And let's just be honest, man. Some people are like, yo, man, I can't wait for the quarantine to be over. My family getting on my nerves. I'm like, okay, well, if your family is getting on your nerves, then this is the opportune time to face what really are y'all's boiling points before y'all go back out into the world, so to speak. Because you know, it's kind of it's one of those things for stuff. Sometimes stuff has to crash and burn before we realize what we value. And so, to answer that question, who I am is what I value. Who you are is what you value. If you think about the things that you value, that really tells you who you are. And you talk about descriptions and adjectives and colorful stuff. And I always say, who are you? Like, of course, now summertime is supposed to be filled with barbecues, right? But most people they'll look at something, they never bother to look at the ingredients, right? And how you pick a mate. You know, you look at the outside, you look at the wrapping, but you never turn around and look at the ingredients. Let's just be honest, fellas. We've run across women even before we got married. It's like, yeah, okay, let me look at these ingredients. I don't know, that expiration date is a little. No, I'm gonna put that back. So I think who we are is the good, bad, and indifferent. I think some of the good things about me are not necessarily the things that I do. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things I am is patient, which is rare because growing up as a kid, I had a short temper. And somewhere along the line, I leveled out. And I really think part of that was because even though my father was around, he was always working. My father was in corporate America during the day and during the week, but on the weekends, he and my grandfather, they were flipping property. So he was always out working, always making extra bread, always doing what he needed to do to be a provider. And I think his absence at times made me angry. And there were times when, I was never the tallest dude around. And, so there were times, people would do something, I would just kirk out, like, but I didn't realize I was missing my father. Even though he was there, I was missing him. So a lot of things that I didn't understand as a young boy, and a lot of times I may have taken that out on other people. But somewhere around the time I was a teenager, he just made it he made a very intentional effort to be around and to just school me on what was happening. And so honestly, that's when I mellowed out. And was never necessarily a hothead, but I think now I'm patient. I think if I could take one adjective, I think patient is probably the most miraculous evolution I've been through. Because as a kid, I used to be super impatient. As a kid, I used to be super hot-headed. And it's not just because I have a wife and children. That's not even it. Because we talk about emotional intelligence. I think that's why God created wives and children. So you could understand exactly what that gamut of emotions is about and how you use them.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about your definition and educate us on what emotional intelligence is.
Emotional intelligence, I believe, is an opportunity to be right, to be wrong, and know that every emotion that we have, we're supposed to experience. There are a lot of times we tell people don't get mad. I said, no, you need to get mad.
Yeah.
There's a time, like your parents tell us a time and a place for everything. But I think there are certain times to show our anger. There are certain times to be quiet. There are certain times to say things that are on our heart versus on our mind. See, that's the difference. That's the fundamental difference to me between men and women. Women always speak from their hearts. Men speak from their minds. But nobody asks us what we think. Women don't want to know what we think. They want to know how we feel. Right. So when I think about emotional intelligence, I think you have to know, number one, what pisses you the hell off.
Right.
Number two, what makes you happy and what fulfills you. Now there's a difference. There's a difference because anger and happiness are both temporary, but fulfillment are more long. It's a longer game. In other words, certain things every day fulfill you in a different way. sometimes literally it's like during COVID, like fulfillment may have just been like, you know what, dang, I ain't had to fill up my gas tank in a while.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But on the opposite end of the spectrum, damn, the water bill is much higher than it's ever been. You know what I'm saying? The
Right.
light bill is much higher than it's ever been, right? But I think we have to be in a place where emotional intelligence, I think it has to be a thing where we tap into every emotion and at times allow it to be a surprise to most people, even ourselves.
Right.
Right? Because in every stage, every season is a setup. I think in this season, I think who I have to be is the most patient, the most present, the most resilient person I've ever been. Not just because I'm the head of the household, not just because I'm expected to, but because that's my own challenge to myself. So I have to be in a place where, you know, meditation has been a practice for me now for probably about the last five or 6 years. That helps me set my day. Not saying it just because I meditate that I don't get angry. No, I get upset. But again, one thing that I think one of the things in terms of emotional intelligence that I pulled from both my mother and father is my father was the hothead. My mom's always the reasoner, right? And in my pop's old age, he's mellowed out. My grandchildren will do that to you, but you know, my pop's older age, he's mellowed out. But my mom was always the thinker and the reasoner and the peacemaker. So I think when we talk about emotional intelligence, there's a lot of hereditary things that come into play. Some stuff we know, some stuff we don't know. And I tell a lot of people, especially brothers who may not know their mothers or fathers or grandmothers and grandfathers, it's good to know your health history. And your health history is not just the physical, but the mental. You need to know, you know, where do I get this short temper from? Where do I get the level of patience from? Where do I get this nurturing from? Where do I get this work ethic from? I think it's important for us to know everything that pisses us off, everything that makes us happy, and those things that actually fulfill us. And sometimes, y'all know, sometimes it might just be, you know what? I don't have anywhere to be today. I ain't got nothing on my schedule today. You know, nobody's expecting me to show up. Sometimes that can fulfill you, right? And at times, before COVID, let's just be honest, there were times when being dependent upon by people other than our family was something that was fulfilling because people have an expectation of us. So I think, you know, your emotional intelligence varies from day to day. And I think it only gets better once we measure it. Because once we measure something, we can master it. And once we master it, we can manifest it more frequently. Yep. So you know what pisses you off, you know what makes you happy, you know what fulfills you. Okay, do the best you can to create those environments so that people know, okay, look, if I interrupt this particular environment ecosystem, that's gonna piss them off. Or that's gonna make them happy or make her happy. Because y'all know if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Or that's going to fulfill her, you know. If I'm a good roommate, or you know what I'm saying, if I'm housebroken, if I do chores. Yeah, I hope I answered your question, man.
No, you did. So question to the fellas. Let's get into this one because I know this has been a discussion point at times, especially as if you could think about when you were growing up, okay, young Black men. There are a lot of times that we're told not to be emotional, not to tap into and feel things sometimes. So Chris, can you share with us, kind of how you were brought up and understanding your emotions and really, what was your moment where you really tapped into understanding your feelings and how that made up who you are?
You know, I was born into a 2-parent household where both my parents were very, very involved in my life. Not only mine, but also my siblings. There was like Coach Rice said. He said there was times where my mother was all about the emotional aspect, and my dad was the strength. He didn't, for the longest, he didn't let us hug him. I mean, we hugged him, but we couldn't like kiss him on his forehead, or he'd never show emotions like that. He couldn't cry as often. But somewhere along the line in my life, there was a paradigm shift where I became my own man. And I think it was when I went to college. I went to college, University of Toledo, and I was a student of I was in psychology as well. Coach writes I was a psychology major as well.
Amen.
But what happened for me, being in psychology, there was a lot of different things that they try to teach you. You know, abnormal psychology, clinical, industrial. They were just talking about different types of feelings and emotions. And what I did, I found a happy medium for me, where I was received well from both females and males. And I was confident and secure in who I was as a man. Um, and so now that I have children, I have two sons that they can get both sides out of me. They can see me cry. When I lost my father almost 8 years ago, they saw me cry the most ever. And then they've seen me angry. But there's no manual on how to raise a child. And so for me, I was always the one that would like to talk to my kids. I would pray with my kids, and I would teach them right from wrong. And when they didn't follow the rules, sometimes they would see the angry side of me, or they'll see me excited for when they do follow the rules. Um, but when I tapped into who I was as a person, it was more so when I went to college. I transitioned from college to the real world, working a job, and then when I became a parent on how to speak to children, how to speak to my wife, and in order to be received better from my wife, I had to like you said, man, Coach, you had to show that emotional side, my feelings. What was it about you? What's going on? How was your day? And not just don't give her the one answer. I'm good. You know how we do as men. I'm good. I'm good. But she wanted me to completely unwrap the entire day. She wanted me to, peel back the entire onion. So I think to answer your question, uh, was when I became a father. That's when I really, really showed my emotions, my feelings. Um, my oldest son and I'll say it like this: my oldest son had a burst appendix, and I remember I went to the emergency room. I just got back from Ann Arbor and got there just in time before they started surgery. And he looked up at me as he was about to go to the room to be operated on. I was about to go to the waiting room. He looked up at me and said, "Dad, am I going to die?"
Mm. Mm.
Everybody on this call got a child.
Mm-hmm.
He looked up at me, "Am I going to die?" And all that hardness went out the window, like, because I didn't have an answer for him. All I could say is, "You're gonna be fine." As I was turning away, wiping my tears.
Right.
And so kids will pull that out of you.
Yeah.
A good wife will pull those emotions out of you.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to tap into it sometimes, fellas. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Your kids will see you cry. It's okay, man. It's okay. And we always say, well, only time my kids see me cry is when I'm in church. That's a lie. I've cried outside of church.
And that's the reason I asked that question to us, because a lot of times we're told don't cry, suck it up, and that can shape you, right? That can shape you in the future, and then how you learn to interact with others.
Yeah.
Right. It can make
I say it like this, Rob. I say it like this. I think my wife was more attracted to me because I tapped into my emotional side.
That's
She
heavy.
she was into that. She says, "Wow."
That's heavy.
It doesn't happen often, but when it does, believe me, she jumped all into it. Like, "Oh man, let me help you out. Let me hug you." And I'm like, okay, I was never taught that, you go to bed and let the wife hold you. But there's been times she tried to hold me when I was emotional. I'm like, whoa, hold on, this ain't cool. This ain't cool.
Yeah.
After 17 years of marriage, I learned to just respect what we have, and that's why we call it soulmates.
Right.
Soulmate, they know exactly when you're hurting and when you're strong. So yeah.
So Brandon, do you think a lot of times we try to shield our emotions? And the reason I'm asking all of this, because underneath all of that is your emotional intelligence and understanding who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not able to tap into that, because a lot of times, let's be honest, a lot of men in our communities are taught that a man acts this way. A man is, you know, hard and he doesn't cry and blah, 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 blah. And that's what defines us. So I like Chief's question because he says, who are you? But are you defined by how that traditional, you know, way of thinking of what a man is? Is that what defines you? Or have you truly tapped into understanding really, oh no, I get sad when I, you know, I'm gonna be honest, me, if I see a spot in a movie that's a little tearjerker, I'm gonna shed a couple tears. That's me. That's me. Does that make me less of a man? No.
Best man holiday?
No. I might shed a few.
Cry like a baby. Give me a diaper and some hug. Give me a huggy, some huggies, bro. Because I cried like a baby in that Joker, man.
Yeah. So Brandon, what do you think? What's your thought?
Honestly, man, I think that you know, I came up in a situation, man, where, you know, I had to grow up quick. You know, my family, my mom and dad split when I was like in the 2nd grade. So during that time, from maybe all the way through high school, I came up in an unstable environment. So my thought process was I had to take care of my siblings early. You know what I'm saying? We talking about 3rd grade. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, coming up in that situation, I was hardened. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get, you know, no loves. I didn't get no kisses or none of that type of stuff. You know, I didn't get none of that. You know, and coming up, my only outlet was sports. That's all I knew. Coming up from basically elementary all the way to college, all I knew was sports. Period. Whether that was football, it was boxing, basketball, track. That's all I knew. And that was my outlet. You know what I mean? Everything else I was kind of numb to, you know, because it was so much drama going on in my life. You know what I'm saying? So me being like, you know, showing my emotions, I couldn't do it. You know, I wasn't allowed to, you know what I'm saying? Because I had to look after my sister. I had another younger brother. I had no choice. I had to grow up very quickly. So henceforth, coming up through college, you know, I came to my crossroad, you know, because it was a point in time I was about to stop playing football and come home. You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't getting the support at home. And then at the same token, sports wasn't playing out the way I was, you know, where it was supposed to, you know what I mean? But at the same token, I had a lot to blame that too, because I wasn't putting in the work. So I hit that crossroad. It was either I go down this road to where I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna come back home and I'm gonna live like everybody else, or I'm gonna bust my tail and do what I need to do to get where I had to go, you know? So during that time, I'm still hard, you know what I mean? I have no emotion. All I know is hard work and that's it, you know? So henceforth, like Chris was saying, now I'm a father, you know, I'm a husband. Man, I get so, sometimes I get so stuck in my ways, but I know now through faith and through talking to my wife and talking, you know, like I said, looking up to y'all, talking to y'all, knowing that I need to be more vulnerable. And that's tough for me. I'm gonna keep it real with me. Being open and being vulnerable has always been tough because I'm always been the cat that, you know, stayed in the background and I didn't want nobody in my business. None of that, you know what I mean? Even like henceforth, before I even joined the business, me being on social media, that was done, you know what I mean? But I knew in order for me to become better, I had to do what made me uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? I had to do what made me stuff I didn't want to do because what I was doing wasn't working. I was just doing a normal 9 to 5, going to work, and that was it. And I knew somewhere, some way I had to change. And that also had to change in my, you know, in my behavior, man. And knowing that it was okay to be soft, knowing it was okay to be, you know, just flat out vulnerable. There might be times where I cry. But I know that in order for people, you know, for my kids and for my wife to, you know, to see the real me, I had to be that way. So I just think, man, like being a father, like Chris said, it truly opened up my whole perspective, man. And knowing that I didn't want to live that life that I grew up in, I wanted a better life. So I had to become vulnerable. So I'm with you, Chris. I think fatherhood and, you know, being a husband completely changed.
But Brandon, you or I or anybody on this call tonight, none of us is weak. None of us weak, man. You can cry and turn around and snap in a second.
Oh yeah.
And hurt somebody for your family. I can cry for my family, but I can really kill for my family. Like, so the highs and lows, the roller coaster that we have in life, man. I commend you all even talking about this, because this ain't what we do as black men. We don't talk about this, man. We want to show our strength all the way across the board.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
good stuff, man.
So Chief and Clarence, I'm gonna get to you. Don't forget. Be ready. So Chief, how do you feel that? So these things, we're in our work worlds, we're in our businesses.
Yeah.
And you coach individuals. You know, do you see some of these things creeping up when you're talking to them, and them really understanding who they are, you know, and really digging deeper into them understanding who they are and how that's going to help propel them to being the successful person or that leader that they need to be?
Absolutely. I think just watching, even as my son, when he first started to play sports, and then he slowly drifted off and, you know, let sports go.
Yep.
I remember one time they lost a game. They were going to the Final Four. It was his first year playing, and he was hurt. He was hurt. And most people don't realize, young men have, you know, we've been socializing properly for generations and generations.
Right.
And people don't realize that, you know, anger sometimes was the language that we've been taught to speak. That, okay, yo, I'm gonna just jab back just because that's how I'm gonna show how hurt I am. And I think the anger comes from being hurt and not being able to say, yo, that hurt my feelings, bro.
Wow.
Like, for real. Like, that legitimately hurt my feelings. And so instead of cry, I gotta fight to keep from crying. Or even after I'm finished fighting, I'm gonna cry, because that was just where the emotion had to go. And I think you know, you talk about being emotionally intelligent. I think in certain seasons, you know, especially the first time, you know, a young man is faced with something that really pisses him off. Like, especially if he's in school, yo, you ain't supposed to fight in school, you know. But
Right.
if somebody pushes you to that level, right? You know, all of our parents told us, you know, hey, somebody, yo, you get the last lick. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, you don't start nothing, but you finish it. But I think what's interesting is that, you know, that's kind of the art of war spin. When you spin it on its ear. But when we really look at it, as we see things, you know, with law enforcement and so on and so forth, I think for so long, you know, maybe if crying is not the immediate emotion, I think what we have to vocalize is, yo, bruh, hold tight, yo, bruh, that hurt my feelings, like real rap.
Wow.
Like, you know, but if you're emotionally intelligent, you're able to say that. Say, yo, bro, yo, man, yo, that hurt my feelings when you said that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I was pressed, or however you need to say it. You know, sometimes you don't have to say it all the way, but if you are emotionally, if you're beginning to measure and match your emotional intelligence, you're like, yo, bro, nah, hold tight, bro. Nah, you done gone too far. You know what I'm saying? There are some buzzwords you can use to be like, bro, okay, you borderline, you know, you attacking me, or I feel attacked. But maybe, you know, sometimes you may feel that way with your lady. You know, you feel like she's attacking you. And you know, there are times we get upset with them. You know,
Right.
You know, for whatever reason, maybe it was just bad timing, or maybe it was something that was a small deal to us but a big deal to them.
Right.
And I think that's why, and that's why I said, every day we evolve, and each season we have to channel certain parts of our emotional intelligence. Most times I have to channel my patience. Like, okay, at times I got a smart mouth, I got a sarcastic mouth. Sometimes I be all right, let me take a 20 here, bro, because this is how you feel. This is what you thinking and feeling. Like, what?
That's so important. That's so important.
Yep.
If you know that's who you are, you're gonna start to navigate a little differently, right?
Yep.
But if you used to just giving into that, and because that's just what I'm supposed to do, you know, I ain't giving in, right? But if you tapped into understanding that's a part of your fabric, then you move a little smarter.
Absolutely.
So Clarence, real quick, can you tell us, like, kind of give us an example of like something you run into where you kind of found out, man, that's something I really need to be aware of, because I don't want to, you know, necessarily put myself in this situation again, or this may have worked out for me because I'm, you know, I'm this type of person.
Well, I guess I would say I'm one person that really don't show a lot of emotions, and I'm trying to work on that part of me. So I'm really impulsive, right? And I know that about myself. So when I go to environments that makes me impulsive, I have to be careful.
Okay.
So if you're a fire starter, I gotta watch what we talk about.
Right.
Because if you say the right word, it's on.
Mhm.
And I'm literally having kids is helping me.
Yeah.
Being married is, a blessing, because I had a situation, saying I was going to the red zone, and I had to kind of pull it in. I was thinking real violent. Like I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I was thinking violent, but then I was just thinking violent. Why? Because my dad was like that, for real talk. So my dad was a person that, all right, you cross him, he gonna handle it, and that's that. And so there's times when certain things like that pop up, like literally, and I tell my wife, like, this is what I'm about to do, and she's like, what's wrong with you? And then she make me stop and think, and I'm like, I don't even know. I don't even know. Where did that come from? Because if I get into it with, say if I got into it with somebody on here, I go far left. And so I'm trying to, like, God, what is this? Like, because I didn't know my dad. So it's a long story, but the short version is I didn't know my dad. So I can't tell you certain traits about my father. Only trait I knew was he was a good fighter. And all I know is he was on drugs. And all I know, he wasn't there. And I know that his brother stepped in and took care of me. And that became dad.
Wow.
And so it's tricky. It's tricky for me. So I have to really be careful of my impulsive state daily. So, that's just a quick and short version, because I struggle with rejection. And if you reject me the wrong way, I might hurt you. But I'm scared to let it out. Like, this is real. I'm scared to let it out. I'm like, I don't know why I'm always been afraid, but I'm afraid to let it out because of how I feel. I don't know if I'm gonna stop. And so I struggle with this every day, being a father, every single day, being a husband, every single day. And it's real. So it's hitting. Like right now, I lost my dad. I couldn't cry. So can you imagine the pressure? Every single at Father's Day, I don't want it. I don't want it. Let it pass. But this time, the blessing about it this year, I decided to be happy.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start right there, because I'm not gonna cry. I tell myself this all the time when I get here, because I'm so frustrated about the very fact that I deal with this part of me. I said it sucks. I can't. My son be happy, I ain't happy. My wife happy, I ain't happy. Everybody I'm not happy. What is going on? It's like it's a broken spot in my life. People coming in my life, they play, I be ready to hurt them. So long story short, I struggle with this. Like, that's why I keep my distance from people, because I don't have time for that. So that's real talk. I deal with that impulsive right now. My heart was beating. I was like, don't come to me, please, this fast. But you came to me. I was sitting here and my heart was racing me, because I'm like, I got to give them the naked me, not the me after I get done screaming and hollering. The real me is I deal with impulsive behavior sometimes. And so therefore I got to get environments like this that makes me better.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Clarence. Definitely.
Hey, Clarence, you said something right there, man, that, and I want you to know that I'm like you. I lost my dad almost 8 years ago to cancer, and I couldn't stand Father's Day. I didn't want to see Father's Day. And I remember thinking that nothing was fair. When I lost my dad, I saw things. I could see birds flying in slow motion. I can finally see the clouds moving. I never saw it before. And my wife said something that really hit me. I never forgot it, man. I pray you don't forget this either, Clarence, and those listening. Because I remember I was in the car on my way to see her family, my in-laws, and my sons were behind me. And I said, man, I saw a beautiful sunset. I said, man, that looked like heaven. I said, I wish I could go. And then my son grabbed my shoulder and said, Daddy, if you go, what about us? And it hit me hard, because we so busy worried about those that are gone, we forget about those that are here. And we have to be that backbone, that support for our children. And my wife said it like this. She said, "Baby, it's not fair. You always upset on Father's Day because all they're gonna remember as a child is you being upset about your father.
Yeah.
I mean, you are their father,
Right.
and so, and I'm not calling you selfish because I'm calling me selfish. I'm exposing me that we have to get better, and it's better with time. But like you said, it's the climate and the culture that we're in right now. You're in a climate that's conducive, that's going to assist your growth and development in that area where you feel is weak. As brother, am I my brothers and sisters keeper? Yes, I am. Our job is to grab each other, man, pull each other up, man. And so, because there's things that you're dealing with, Brandon, that Rob might be dealing with, that Coach Rice might be dealing with, that y'all might not be dealing with, that me and Clarence dealing with. And so we got to learn how to open up and know that it's okay. And like you said, Coach, earlier, I think our issue is we don't like being vulnerable.
Yeah.
We don't like being vulnerable, man, especially as Black men, because we've been taking advantage of our entire lives. So it's like, I'm 41 years old, man. I ain't got time to be vulnerable now. That's when I was coming to my mom and dad at the house. I'm a man now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, Clarence,
Oh,
just
great.
don't.
Great points, Clarence, and again, thank you for sharing that because that's a let you know that you're in tune with that, and that's very important. And I want you to have confidence and understand that it's okay to know that about yourself and to be in a place where you are cognizant of it and you don't just react. You know what I'm saying? So now it's growth, my brother.
Yeah.
That's growth because now you're proactive about that emotion now. Yeah. Because you understand that about yourself. So thank you. That was good.
Yeah, and I'll just share that emotion with your kids, man. I mean, if there are certain days, you're missing your dad, or I think at times we need to be vulnerable to the point where our kids know exactly, how are you really feeling?
Yeah.
Because we use that dirty 4-letter word all the time. Fine.
Yep.
And we not. It's like a cuss word. It's like a cuss word. It's fine.
Yep.
No, not like. Let me. Sometimes maybe you got to process it before you say how you feel. But like I said, they were given to us for a reason, and it's good for us to show it to our children so they know how to navigate that space. Because I think I know we are the generation of fathers and husbands that have to be the most emotionally available to any and everybody that we come in contact with, whether they call us baby or daddy or uncle or godfather. We've got to be the most emotionally available. Because the thing is, fellas, we don't realize, we are supposed to be protectors, providers, producers. We're supposed to be the epitome of strength in certain times. But at the same time, when you're a gentleman, right, you open doors, you respect women, and you do the things that a gentleman does. A gentleman loves his children. A gentleman loves people. He says, we've got to get to a point where I can say, bro, I love you, man. And we ain't got to say no homo behind it. You know what I'm saying? We ain't got to say that. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you have love for somebody, it's like, no, man, bro, I love you, man. And you can't love anybody you don't respect. That's just a personal, belief of mine. My bad, Rob. I know you're gonna ask the next question.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. So with that, tell us a little bit about some tools we might be able to use to tap into understanding, our emotional intelligence and understanding who we are.
Fellas, we're in this digital world. I think the first thing it's just like a laundry list. I used to tell my kids this when they were in grade school. I was like, you have 30 minutes every day to do absolutely nothing. And they thought I was punking. They thought it was a joke. I guess they thought when they was doing nothing, I was gonna steal the snacks. I don't know what they thought. But like for real, you have 30 minutes to do absolutely nothing. I think we've gotten so used to the ping of computers and phones and cars, and what we've gotten so caught up into this particular matrix that we really don't know how to relax. I think as men, we've been socialized to think we always got to be doing something. We always got to be working. We always got to be providing. We got to always be, protecting. Sometimes it's just good to collect your thoughts. I mean, personally, meditation works for me. I've gotten to a point where I do it twice a day now. But at the same time, let's get away from doing so much texting and let's start connecting.
Wow.
And let people know, yo, I feel like we're not connected. Matter of fact, my daughter, she, of course, she had to come home early during the quarantine, and so, it's one of those things where she asked me a question, and I was like, she says, "Are you all right?" I said, "Mm-mm." She says, "What's up?" I said, honestly, Taylor, I said, I really don't feel like we connected right now. I just don't. I said, I feel like we're not connected. I don't think she was expecting that. She was expecting me to use that 4-letter word. Fine. Right. And I was like, baby girl, like I need for us to be more connected than ever. For so many reasons, we don't realize this, but as we raise our children, we're preparing them for not just school, not just work, we're preparing them for marriage. And we're preparing them to be complementary to their mate, whoever that is. And I think that's really the charge. That is the charge. And I think the more we talk about what we feel, and that's what I was telling my daughter. I said, "No, baby, I feel like we're not connected, and I don't like it." It's like good morning, goodbye, and it's like, no, let's talk. Let me tell you how I'm feeling right at this moment. And it's not that I'm trying to pick you apart or be critical. So I'm saying just connect with people and say, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? I think the third thing is, fellas, for real, like, exercise, going to the doctor, doing your medical history. I'm saying we need to always be ahead of the curve. There's too many brothers. Bro, in the last 3 years, we've said goodbye to brothers that are under the age of 50 that died from things that weren't cancer or terminal diseases. I'm talking hypertension, heart disease, strokes. We can't lead in bad health. We can't, it's just not, it's not possible. I mean, it's possible, but it's possible for a shorter amount of time. And my father-in-law, may God rest his soul, his best friend used to say, he says, look, working out won't stop the aging process, but it sure as hell will slow it down.
Right.
But I think part of, it's just good to exercise. I've always loved to exercise. I don't think I'll ever be out of love with it. But I think, in terms of just being able to move. But again, just being in a place where we're just being present. A lot of times we need other things around. We think we need other things around us just to be present. And sometimes, just be present. Be present. Clear the space. Just where there's no noise, no distraction. Just sometimes we just have to be. We're so worried about the next move. I think the only way we become more emotionally intelligent is hit that pause button way more. And just be like, you know what? Because y'all know, fellas, we tie between emails, whatever. One thing's for sure, the work ain't going nowhere.
Right.
If it's not urgent, to me, if nobody that lives with you, if their lives aren't in danger by something that somebody's expecting you to do, or that it's not an emergency, And one thing I learned from my pop, my dad was, it was crucial. He worked in sales for years, and he would be at stuff, and he would be like, they'd be like, "Who do you work for?" He was like, "My wife and kids." Because they see a brother that's dressed and like, yo, well, he must be doing something for a living. He must be okay. He must be a smart Negro. Like, no, man. Who do you work for? He said, "My wife and kids." And most people would just leave him alone. Right. But I'm saying that to say, and I think the key to emotional intelligence is awareness. That's what Claire's talking about. Knowing what the boiling points are. Knowing when you're not in the mood to hear certain things. Knowing when you're not in the mood to be in the company of certain people. And it's nothing personal. You just don't want to spoil the party. Nobody wants to be the buzzkill or the killjoy at any party. So recognize when you're not in psychological and emotional shape to be present somewhere that somebody is expecting you to be.
Definitely.
Got a question for y'all, which
Yep.
which a lot of us deal with. Coming from Tavia, my wife, how do we deal with relationships with family that interferes negatively with our current family or marriage? How do we navigate that with keeping respect? And do we allow another relationship to crumble to save another? And that's a good one, because I you know what, that relates to me so much, man, because man, I'm telling you, me and my wife's relationship been a roller coaster, and it's been 75% because of my family. You know what I'm saying? You know, I got, I deal with, my dad's side of the family was good, my mom's side of the family, we don't talk. Then it teeter-totters, you know what I'm saying? To where I can't just keep it equal, you know what I'm saying? So Coach Rice, give us some answer that question, because I know it's a lot of people that relate to this question and they don't know how to deal with it because they got so much negativity with their family. How would you say somebody should deal with that?
It's a phenomenal question, and I know a lot of people who have dealt with this. I know a lot of people who are dealing with this, and I think as men, sometimes they feel like sometimes some people they'll say, I'll be quiet before I'm disrespectful, right? However, when you're saying how you're feeling and it's how you feel, right? It may not be factual to somebody else, but it's how you receive it. Like, look, I know what you said, but this is how I felt about what you said. And so, when you decide to jump the broom and you get married, you leave your parents, right? Because it says it. I've never been to a wedding where you leave your parents and you cling to your spouse, right? So now you're the head. It's like you leave one. It's like you got the buyout from one company, and now you're the CEO of the next one, right? And as the CEO of your house, right? Because that's what we all are. That's what we should be. We are the chief executive officers of our households, right? We have to set a certain service culture in the house. There are certain rules in the house, and even the people that live in the house know the rules. They know the service culture. The people that come to our house know the service culture. Now, being emotionally intelligent, right? Yeah, you have to have those difficult conversations. And I think what most people will do is they'll get to their Twitter fingers, or they'll get to they gangster on the phone or via email. But when you see them, it's Anita Baker. It's like, wait a minute, you was just Ice Cube a minute ago when we was like, now I'm hearing sweet love. Like, what was that all about? Passive aggressive, right? But to answer your question, I think people have to know the service culture. When you go to Chick-fil-A, right? When you get your food, what's one thing you hear them say?
My pleasure.
Precisely. When people come to your house,
man,
know the culture of your house. If you ask people to take your shoes off, hey, we don't drink or smoke in here. We don't cuss. We don't bash. If you're a fan, we don't bash Cowboys fans or Redskins fans, whatever y'all do. Whatever, right?
Right.
But I'm being serious at the same time. I think there have to be boundaries there, and I think part of being adults is that we do have to be connected to our own emotional intelligence and understand what best language works with the people that we're at odds with. Right. Because everybody wants to talk about how they think, talk about the facts, then talk about the feelings. To me, facts come before feelings in the dictionary. So whenever it's time for you to squash conflict, let's just deal with the facts first. And if we got to write them out, this is what happened. A happened, then B happened, then C happened. All right, how did you see it? Okay, C happened, then B happened, then A happened. Okay, that's how you see it. But facts have to come before the feelings. And so when you lay it out, just say exactly what happened. This is what happened. And again, at times we may have to take ownership. Hey, I apologize because I didn't make this clear. I know for a fact we're the generation of fathers and husbands that have to apologize more than our grandfathers, fathers, great-grandfathers, great-grandfathers ever have. Not because we soft, but we have to model what it means to take full ownership of the things that we don't do well or that we forget or fail to do. So at some point, you got to have a come to Jesus, come to Allah, come to the Cracker Barrel table and be like, look, these
Right.
are the facts. You tell me your facts. It's like watching a car accident. We all see the same car accident, but we all have different, we saw that, we agree that there's a car accident, but we all saw it from a different angle. Let's talk about the angle we saw it from first. Let's talk about what's wrong with the facts. And then we can talk about how we feel. Because a lot of times people get the facts mixed up with the feelings. Well, how could you say that? Well, look, that's what happened. You know, look, I hate to bring up the George Floyd thing.
Man, I was just about to say.
The fact is he was murdered.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He was murdered and he was on camera. Like, he was subdued. He said, I'll get in the car. Those are all facts. Those are all facts. But this clown felt some type of way. So he felt like, no, I'm gonna teach you a lesson. The fact was, there should have never been an arrest. If it was a quote unquote counterfeit bill, police officers should be like, you know what, bro? Here, man, look, just give the stuff back. If the bill's in question, if I'm really, look, man, I got you. How much is it? $20 here, man.
Right.
Just give me next time. But his feelings, the officer's feelings, got in the way of the facts. And to me, that's where we get it wrong. The feelings come before the facts, and that should never be it. So lay out the facts. You know, sometimes the truth hurts, but lay the facts out. Lay the facts out. Lay them all out, exhaust them, and let people talk. That's one thing. When it was about 2 years ago, we were just having a family meeting, and my wife says, well, hey, we'll go with dad first. Name one word that describes dad, good, bad, or indifferent. So my son says, resilient. My wife says, fearless. My daughter said, great listener.
Wow.
And so I hope that I'm modeling that for them down the line when they get married, when they're working in whatever field they're going to work in. I hope that beyond anything, I hope I give them the gift of listening. But I get the gift of listening from my mom. I get the gift of gab from my pops, but I get the gift of listening from my mom. But I listen better than I talk. That's just me.
All right, awesome. Hey, real quick before we get off, how do we feel? Well, I'll start with you, Coach. Being Black men, especially in today's culture and society, do you feel that we need to be more emotionally available to each other?
Yes, without question. Every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Man.
Because let's just be honest, fellas. The only place that Black men have consistently gathered are the barbershop and at church.
Wow.
Or the club. And then if you at the club, your focus ain't really the fellas. I mean, you gigging or whatever, but what's up, fellas? Let's good to see y'all, but you get what I'm saying? So I think we have to be more emotionally available to one another and remind brothers that it's good to see them. Like, I used to say that, people just think I was just being cliche. So no, man, it's good to see you, fellas. I mean, we've all known people that have checked out of here way before they were supposed to. And sometimes it wasn't by
got another special guest.
Okay, my bad. It wasn't by accident. I mean, it wasn't supposed to happen that way in terms of, but I'm saying that there's just way too many folks that are checking out because like you said, they're not emotionally intelligent enough to be like, you know what, I need some therapy. One thing about, of course, in the company of other men, that's good, but that group of fellas need to be like, yo, bro, you need to go see a therapist.
And that's huge right now because we're talking about a lot of there's a lot of mental health discussion right now. So I brought that up just mainly because, everything that's going on. I know this has been very therapeutic for me. Some of the other brothers agree. I see Brandon shaking his head, but there are people out there listening as well. So I just really I want to drive home that being in touch with who you are is very, very key to just navigating life. I mean, we just talked about it right here. I mean, in your marriage, and that's the success I'm talking about. Like, not just work, right? Not just money, but your daily life. You know, success is not all money. Success is not all money, right? So, you know, and I don't want to get on my soapbox, but you know, I really appreciate you taking this time. I hate to get off. It went very fast. It went very.
Yeah, it did. It went quick, man.
It went very fast, but I enjoyed the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get final thoughts from everybody. We'll start with Brandon. What's your takeaway from today?
Hold on one second. Yeah. I just think it's like it's good to be around y'all, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's good because our thoughts can only get us so far. Our own thoughts, you know. All right. It's good to hear thoughts from other people to get us over that part, you know, to get it to expand our thoughts, you know what I mean? And this is just a good thing for self-development, man. It's making us better. It's making me better for sure. Cause trust, this is way out of my comfort zone. But I know in order to get better, this is what I need to do. So I'm with it, man. I just want to let y'all know, yeah, this is deep, man. And you're right. Being emotional, intelligent, I got to, you know, and being more vulnerable, I got to, you know. So change is vulnerable. Change is tough, but I know I'm with it, and I'm with it. So I know it's gonna make me better. So definitely.
Clarence, what's your thoughts?
I think it was good. I just think today, like, it was just good to hear another man actually talk from different points. So, you know, just to hear someone that coach people and things of that nature and deals with that platform and being in a place where I love to inspire people, but then I struggle with certain areas of my life. And it just shows me that, you know, I have to tighten up certain areas, you know, and then if I'm hurt, I got to be able to say, yo, that hurt, instead of bottling, because I bottle everything up. And then when I explode, it's not for that one thing. So what I learned today was when something hurt, say it hurt, man. Like, get it over with in that moment, you know. So this was rich and this was really good, and I needed it.
Awesome. Chris, what about you, sir?
Hey man, listen, it was good all the way through and through. From the standpoint that I can be that shoulder for my brother, he can be a shoulder for me, and then also to be that ear that person can speak to you and tell them how they feeling, and turn off the inside noise as well as the outside, and never be too busy for your brother and sister, man. Like you, sometimes I know right now in life we get caught up with things that really don't matter. We always think they do. Like Coach said, he said, man, sometimes just turn the phone off, man. Kill everything going on in your head, man, and just be in that moment. Be with, like my wife and I would go in the back. We'll go right there on the patio, man. Turn the noise off in the world. Grab a glass of wine and just have a conversation. Like, you know, turn everything off, man, and then be in that moment. The same way you in that moment for your wife and your kids, man. Be like that for your fellow man, and give love and give support and make sure that they know that you care. Because listen, I always say, man, on your obituary, it's gonna read sunrise to sunset. Nobody ever talks about the dash. And so my dash is gonna be, man, Chris, he listened to people, man. He loved people, and he cared. And so our society needs more caring people that love people genuinely, and that when you see me, you're like, man, Chris, man, he's a guy that really cares. And so I learned a whole lot tonight that even when I'm going through, I need to also lean on my brothers and sisters as well, more so, and be vulnerable. Because sometimes we get so caught up on this manhood, it says man up, and we can miss all kind of opportunities, man. All kind of opportunities. And so I appreciate Coach you tonight. Appreciate you fellas as always. Always getting nuggets. You know, I say sometimes we get them. You know, some people give you ramen noodles, but tonight we got some filet mignon, and so I appreciate you all giving some of that tonight, man. Really good. Thanks again.
Appreciate it.
I'll give mine real quick. Chris, you said a lot of things I wanted to say. Just to reiterate, take a moment that really spoke to me. Take a you know, because you need to take a moment for you. You gotta be okay before you deal with anybody else. Just like the oxygen mask in the airplane, you know, get yours first. Then we're gonna take care of everybody else. We don't want you passing out. Facts, then feelings. That was powerful right there.
Yeah, that is good.
I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
just real simple facts. Then let's get into the feeling. And then just overall, I think this just makes you a better person and friend. Really understanding you, really understanding what makes you tick, because now you're able to avoid situations, and then you're able to put yourself in a position that's advantageous for you at times. So I think, you know, just really understanding that about yourself is going to make everybody here a little better each day. So, and I think that's what it's about. Let's get better each day. And emotional intelligence is a part of that. So thank you, sir, for coming on. I'm going to let you close us out with your thoughts and blessings.
The thing I can think about the most in terms of us being emotionally available, my mother's father, he lived to be 99 years old. And my mother's oldest brother, he was about maybe 4 or 5, right? And so my grandparents were farmers in the Deep South. And so one day, my grandfather, of course, he's just working hard, man. He's just worn out. He's just eating dinner, went and grabbed a shower. He's just sitting there reading the newspaper. And uncle comes up to him and he wanted to sit on his lap. And he looked at him, he says, you know what, man? Dad's tired, man. And he just, you know, he kind of shoved him away, and he never came back.
Wow.
My uncle never went back. He never went back. And my grandfather told that story as he got older. He was like, man, I didn't realize how much. He says, I know it hurt him. He says, but in retrospect, it hurts me even more. Because all he wanted was just to sit with dad. He wasn't saying, Daddy, let's go play. He just he wanted to be in his presence. And I think if we don't take care of ourselves, you know, in the time that we're away from our families before we come home, I don't know what your commute is like home. But if some days, if y'all just need to sit in front of the house, just to take a deep breath before you walk into the next room, then do so. I took some acting classes in 2017, and they said, I want y'all to pay attention to this. And then I'm gonna drop something. I'm gonna drop a quick plug for something else, and then I'm done. I took an acting class in 2017, and they said, every room you walk in, you are a different character. Wow. Every room that you walk in, you are a different character, right? So the person you are when you walk into church is not the same. You don't walk in church the same way you walk in the barbershop, or the same way you walk in the club, or the same way you walk in the supermarket. Not that you have a split personality, but your demeanor is different, right? And so energy is never created nor destroyed. It's transferred from one party to the next. And so before we cross the thresholds of our doors, let's make sure we check our nonverbal. And whatever authentic, however we need to show up authentically, if we need to let people know, yo, I'm exhausted, I need a hug. Or, hey, I need a hug and then I just need 30 minutes. Or, yo, I just need to lay down. I think the more authentic we are, the more emotionally intelligent we can be. And, you know, I just want to encourage y'all fellas, you know, whether things are going great or whether they're going terrible, get to a place where you're doing something therapeutic for yourself. If it's getting a therapist, if it's massage therapy, if it's, you know, whatever it is, do something where you can just literally cut off the phone and do what you need to do. I want to plug real quick. It's a thing called Men Thrive. It's a brand new initiative. We're on Instagram. It's men_thrive. We're connected with a consortium out of Baltimore called Henry Health. And we've partnered with them. There's a lot of great resources there. And we're just trying to build a community so brothers can be more in touch with who they are emotionally and authentically. And I just encourage you all to just check it out. there's a meditation app that's being built. It's being built out. There's a blog. There's now a podcast. So definitely check it out. It's definitely, I'm not just saying it because I am involved with it indirectly, but I've gotten a lot of great value out of it. So I encourage you brothers to go in and check it out. And
For sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Great, another great tool, and that's what we want to leave all these conversations with applicable things that we can use for our daily lives to help make it better. So thank you for that.
no
Hey,
problem.
Rob, did you put that resource in the
chat.
chat?
It's called, it's just men. It's
Oh.
men_thrive, I believe.
I can do it. If you don't do it, I can do it.
Yeah, please do it if you can. So yeah, awesome. Hey, another series of Man Up. We appreciate you all joining us today. We had educator and coach, Mr. George E. Rice III, better known as Chief.
I don't even sound right. You calling me by my government name.
I know, right?
Listen, man.
I was talking to them about you coming on, and I immediately went into Chief, and they're like, "Who?" And I said, "You know Chief Brandon."
Right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, definitely.
He said, "Oh, G. Rice Field."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man. Before I go, I want to tell all of y'all, like from the bottom of my heart, I love y'all, brothers, like for real.
Me too, man.
Because for real, I think what you're doing is more than necessary for our fair city. Because y'all know it's just a lot of brothers out here. They can't get to the next level because they just don't know where to put the emotion.
Yep.
And that's why young men do crime. That's why because they're angry about it's post-traumatic stress disorder, and you don't realize that that's how they express themselves. If they can't dominate somebody else, they're going to dominate something. So just want to keep doing great work. Y'all know if y'all need anything, I got you. Is there anything I could do to help just spread the word what y'all are doing? I'm here. Keep doing what you're doing. You know, y'all are adding value to people's lives, and I'm proud of y'all, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, man.
Hey, Man Up, real
Yes,
people,
sir.
real talk, real issues. Listen, we just started a page, so go on Facebook and like us.
Yes, sir.
Life 419 is right in the background. You can see it if I'm pointing the right way, right there.
It's right there.
We official.
That Man Up Life 419. So give us the support. Go check out also I was about to say Chief. Go check out George Rice III on Instagram. He's on Instagram and Facebook. Can you tell him your handle, please? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
At Coach Rice 11.
At Coach Rice 11. There it is.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, so again, we thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week, Thursday, 9 p.m. live here on Facebook. Talk to you later.
Peace.